guys, time for the next part. If you can tell by my outfit, I'm still wearing the same outfit from the other part, so this is all being filmed the same night. I deleted some of the files on my computer, and I should be able to film a couple more parts, depending on if I'm up to it. So, let's get started. This chapter is called Thinking About Love It. And my author's note says, sorry this took so long. My dog would not let me type. He's a jealous little thing, he is. Unfortunately, he's not alive anymore. This is a picture of what he looked like. He was a good dog. A little brat, and a little finicky, but he was a very good dog. Yeah. I think he cameoed in one of my videos one time. I don't think you actually saw him. I think you saw his tail or something. But, yeah. Sweeney Todd. Here we go. I overwork myself for you, dear, she replies softly to me. And I don't want to burden you more than you already are. That still doesn't make much sense. She does it all for me. Those words repeat in my mind as I approach her. She looks nervous, but she doesn't move away or break eye contact with me. I gently grasp her shoulders, and I pull her closer to me. It's then that I lay a soft kiss on her lips. I am shocked by the rush of emotions that flow through me that very moment. When I finally pull away, I long for more, but I know it wouldn't be appropriate, so I turn and leave her be, casting her one last glance before I head up to my shop. The following day, I feel very light, although Eleanor seems to be avoiding me. Lightness does not leave me. I only killed one customer today, mainly because he acts too much like a judge. Throughout the day, my mind can only think about one person, Eleanor Lovett. I keep on thinking about everything she has done for me before and after my transformation into Sweeney Todd. I remember when we were little kids. She got in a fight with another boy who was being a bully to me. Back then, our friendship was so strong, it was as if we were siblings. So you're in love with your sister, yucko, yucko, yuck. Reminds me of that Frankenstein movie. Brought your lunch, love, I hear her say from behind me, breaking my thoughts. I turned quickly to see her already retreating my shop. I know that she's being shy and cautious. I can't blame her, seeing how I know how unpredictable I've become since I've come home. I feel anger bubbling up inside me. It's not at her, no, but towards myself. I keep on thinking about that incident in the market where I striked her. Just say slapped. I slapped her. She was standing up to me, and I repaid her by hurting her physically and emotionally. I can hear her voice now saying that I only caught the tail end of the incident. That's no excuse. I should have controlled my actions and not be blinded by tainted love. I begin to eat the meal that Eleanor made for me. It eases my thoughts considerably. I remember that. Stop having Sweetie say doesn't say I remember that she tried to teach me how to cook when we were kids. I failed miserably back then, but we had fun. After escaping Australia, I had to teach myself how to cook in order to survive the sea. In fact, her lessons from when we were kids came in handy as I journeyed back to London. I hear the shop door open, another customer to shave. Putting my fork down, I get to work. I sit on my bed, waiting patiently for Eleanor to come up with dinner. Within a few minutes, she enters my shop, balancing a tray on one hand as the other pushes the door open. Brought you dinner. She trails off when she sees me sitting on my bed watching her. I see her become more alert. I also notice that she's blushing slightly. Smiling, I stand up and walk towards her. Thank you, Eleanor, I say as I take the tray from her. She stands there dumbfounded by my actions. I feel her eyes on me as I place the tray down on my desk. I turn and I face her, noticing that she's nervous. Well, I'll leave you alone to eat, dear, she mumbles, turning to leave. Don't go, I say quietly. She pauses abruptly, sighing. She turns and faces me. I know what you want to discuss, Mr. Todd, she says after a while of silence. Eleanor, just hear me out, please, she asks softly. I silently nod, giving her permission to speak. I know that for you, that kiss was probably just a gesture for saying thank you. To me, though, it's much more than that. Eleanor says very quietly, wringing her hands together. I want to say something, but I know she wants me to hear her out. So I stay silent as she continues. For a long time now, I've had a strong fondness for you, more than friendship fondness. I guess I can say that it developed shortly after my bloody parents decided to marry me off to Albert Lovett. I see her pause, thinking back on her parents' decision with a bitter look on her face. Then I see her look at me, looking unsure and ashamed. Why should she be ashamed, or would she be ashamed? I kept it to myself, especially after you met Lucy. She had always rubbed me the wrong way, but I wanted you to be happy, Mr. Todd. Eleanor, I say softly when she gets me off. Please let me finish. That kiss you gave me last night was the happiest moment of my life. Aside from the birth of my son, Toby, she says. She turns away from me suddenly, bringing her hand to her face. Cautiously, I take a step closer to see if she's all right. She slowly turns and faces me again. Her eyes are moist with tears. I know that it probably meant nothing to you, Mr. Todd, she says with a very shaky voice. But it meant the world to me that you did that. Thank you, Mr. Todd. I stare at her at a loss of words. She smiles sadly, misreading my reaction. She goes to walk by me, but I stop her by catching her in my arm. Turning to face her fully, I look deeply into those beautiful chestnut eyes. That kiss meant the world to me, too, I say softly. She looks up at me, completely shocked by my words. Before she can say a thing, I pull her close and kiss her on her succulent lips. This time I feel her kissing back after a moment of shock. This goes on until we need to breathe. Or it says we need to breath. You should be ashamed of yourself past me. You should be ashamed. When we break away, we look at each other, neither of us speaking a word. Mr. Todd, she says softly. Hush, I whispered, gently stroking her face. No more words. I just want us to stay in that moment. In the moment. I mean, stop switching between past tense and present tense. It's annoying. Again, this chapter is longer than it looks. Over 1,000 words, people. I don't care how long it is. We're going on to the next chapter. Oh, actually, I won't do that. Okay, then. This chapter is called Closing Time. Whatever. Yay, I finally managed to update early today. Woo-hoo. This is a Mrs. Lovett chapter, so I'll be speaking in the accent. I don't know how long we've stayed here hugging each other. Honestly, I don't care at all. All I care about right now is this tender and loving moment that I'm sharing with Mr. Todd. I might as well savor it before then, seeing I don't know if a moment like this will ever occur again. It seems that the minute I think that, my bloody son comes barging in, causing both me and Mr. Todd to separate quickly. Mr. Todd, he trails off when he sees me staring at him. He looks from me to Mr. Todd, looking rather confused and suspicious. Dear, I'll be down in a tick. Just go and eat, I say sweetly to him. Quietly, he nods, casting Mr. Todd a suspicious glance before leaving us be. Neither of us say a thing after he leaves. I don't dare to look up at him, mainly because I don't know if he'll be staring back or he'll be staring elsewhere out that window or telling me to leave. So I back off some, putting on a polite smile on my face. Well, I'd best be off, I say cheerfully. It's then I finally look up at him and see him looking down at me with the softest expression I've ever seen on his face since his return to London. May I eat downstairs with you tonight, he asks softly. Of course, dear, I answer, noticing that my voice is a bit higher than normal. I tend to leave, hearing Mr. Todd picking up his dinner and following me back down to the shop. The look on Toby's face is priceless when we enter the shop together. Toby, it's rude to stare, I say to my boy after a minute when I notice him still staring at myself and Mr. Todd. Toby quickly looks down at his food, still looking utterly confused. I smile at myself, knowing that boy will bombard me with questions when I'm tucking him in for bed later. In silence, we all ate our dinner, occasionally glancing at each other when Toby's not looking. That evening, after tucking Toby in for bed, I find Mr. Todd waiting for me in the parlor. I know why he's here. He's going to help me down in the bakehouse. I really don't want the help because I'm quite capable of doing it myself. Mr. Todd won't hear it. So we both go down to the bakehouse and together to butcher and grind the one victim of Mr. Todd today. Why, he's awfully fat. I comment when I see the body under the chute. Mr. Todd grunts, glaring down at the corpse. He's filth like the judge, he responds softly, but I can faintly make out the growl in his voice. So we begin the most unfortunate process of undressing the book. After searching and looting the clothing of hidden pounds in currency. I toss the clothing into the oven to be burned. I try my hardest not to look at the corpse's nudity, seeing he's about as fat as my Albert. We haul him over to the cutting table and begin tiresome butchering. After a while, we finally finish, so we fill up the meat bag and haul it over to the grinder. Go upstairs and rest, Mr. T. I'll take care of the rest, I say to Mr. Todd as I reach for the grinder's handle. Mr. Todd grabs my hand firmly but gently. I look up at him and he's giving me a look. You should go upstairs and rest, he says flatly. I know there's no point in protesting, so I leave him to grind the meat. I collapse into the couch, thinking back on the events of the past 2 evenings. He not just kissed me once, but twice. I can hardly believe it. What has stunned me more is that he said to me before he kissed me the second time. He said that the first kiss meant the world to him too. My thoughts are interrupted when Mr. Todd makes his appearance from the bakehouse. He's a bloody mess, but I know that I probably look the same. Silently, he sits beside me. We should go and clean up some, I say after a while. He nods and follows me up to the bathroom. I find it quite amazing that Toby does not question the bloodstains on the couch, seeing they don't bother to clean up themselves before finally sitting on the bloody couch. We each take a face cloth and douse it in warm water. Thankfully, the blood isn't terribly hard to get off. When the blood is off completely, I throw my face cloth. At least I use the proper term for cloth and not clothes. Next to the basket with the clean laundry of Mr. Todd's. Grab a shirt from in there, dear. They're clean, I say before turning and leaving from my bedroom to change. After a change into my nightdress, I head out of the room, almost jumping when I almost bumped into Mr. Todd. He kind of smirks at me before turning away to head down to the parlor. I swear he likes to scare me, so I follow him and we both settle down on the couch together. Mr. Todd, may I ask you something? I ask after a while. He looks at me with those beautiful eyes of his. Of course, he answers softly. Are you planning on leaving London after you get your revenge? I ask quietly. His look lingers on me, not answering my question right away. That depends on if you want to leave London, he answers. My heart skips a beat when he says this. He wants to stay with me. I was sure that he would want to leave London immediately after the judge and the baby were on meat pies. I know that Mr. Todd's watching me. I look at him and he's wearing a small smile. I wouldn't and don't want to leave you, Eleanor, he says softly. I'm at a loss of words, knowing full well that I'm probably blushing furiously right now. Before I know it, I am resting my head on Mr. Todd's chest. I find myself being lulled to sleep by the sound of Mr. Todd's strong and steady heartbeat. Oh, how sweet. But don't think you've heard the last of Lucy yet. Free hint to anyone who reviews. So stupid. Okay, that's chapter 17. Let's read chapter 18. Part of me is tempted to read the entire story in Susan's voice, only because it's a good way to practice the accent, but I'll keep on alternating, that way it gives my voice a rest. This chapter is called A Price to Pay. Oh, that sounds very subtle. I wonder if something bad's going to happen in this chapter. Something tells me that this story has potential of being my longest story yet. Enjoy. Yeah, it is my longest story. Okay, then. I have like 293 reviews on this. Yeah. Part of me is kind of afraid to see what some of the reviews are. Okay, here we go. Another week has passed, and there still hasn't been any word about someone being broken out of Fogg's Asylum. I am not only getting more agitated, I'm becoming more worried as well. What if the sailor got caught and the Honorable Judge Turpin had him shipped off to Australia or had him hanged? Knowing the judge, it wouldn't surprise me to the very least. I pace about my shop, pausing abruptly when Eleanor enters with a wide grin on her face. He did it, didn't he? I ask her. Her smile widened and I allow myself to grin with glee. Joanna is free from the judge, Beetle, and Lucy. The great old judge came in not that long ago, ranting about the breakout. It happened a week ago, but Foggs kept silent about it at first so their reputation wouldn't get ruined. So that means that that Anthony and Joanna are probably long gone by now. Is the judge still downstairs? I ask her, hoping she'd say yes. Her smile fades slightly. Afraid not, Mr. Todd. The judge came in to tell me off about it, she answers. Why would he want to tell you off? I ask her, confused. Eleanor made a face as she thought back upon the incident. Apparently, little Lucy said something to him about me being the one responsible for the breakout. Seems she told me about the judge marrying Joanna. Eleanor answers, rolling her eyes at the thought. I am a tad worried for her safety, seeing Lucy is involved with the beetle and is associated with the judge. I wonder what's going to happen in this chapter. Don't worry about it, Mr. Todd. Lucy is just looking for someone to blame, and the judge is looking for someone to rant to. Besides, I told him that I hadn't had the slightest clue that he had put his fiancée in an asylum. That's when he grumbled and left. She continues, reassuring me that everything will be fine. I suppose she's right. Anyway, the judge has no proof against her. So the judge doesn't want to come to me for a shave, right? I ask her, already knowing the answer. Nope, she answers, smiling fully. Well then, I'll pay him a visit this evening after our shops close up, I continue, grinning slightly to the thought of the judge's blood all over my precious lit razors. I feel Eleanor placing her hand on my shoulder. Okay, this plan of his is stupid. If you kill the judge in the barber's shop, you have a way to dispose of his body. If you go to his house and murder him, especially with a straight blade, people are going to put two and two together, especially Lucy. I turn to see her looking up at me with some concern in her eyes. Be careful, love, she whispers. I smile lovingly at her. Eleanor always worries about others and not herself. I gently brush a stray strand of her hair away from her face before I lean in and kiss her softly on the lips. Don't worry about me, Eleanor, I say to her. She smiles shyly and leaves me be. Sighing, I stare out the large window in my shop, thinking about tonight's plan. Soon the judge will be my prey. Then when the beetle comes to investigate, he'll be next. Finally, closing time has come. I almost gleefully flip the open sign to close before I head down to the pie shop for dinner. I eat my meal as quickly as possible, earning a stern look from Eleanor and a surprised look from her son Toby. Dear, you're asking to choke by eating that fast, she says after a while. All I do is shrug and continue to wolf down my meal, noticing Eleanor rolling her eyes and muttering men under her breath. When I finish, I quickly get up and grab my coat. I'll be back within the hour, I call out behind me as I head out the door. Unfortunately, it'll take me a while to get to the judge's house. However, that gives me enough time to plan out that unworthy slime's death to perfection. How shall I do it? I know. I'll turn him into a flea, a harmless little flea. Then I'll put that flea inside of a box and put that box inside of another box and then mail that box to myself. And when it arrives, I'll slash it with my razor. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Slitting his throat would be too quick in my opinion. I want to have my fun with him first. Besides, I don't want to leave any evidence that it was a barber's razor that killed him. The proper term is straight blade. Although I just used the term razor rather. Fuck it. I'll mutilate his body to the extreme that he'll be unrecognizable. Are you going to move his body from his house so people don't put two and two together? Finally, after half an hour, I make it to the slime's house. Casually, I knock on his door. An unfamiliar face opens up. So, did the face open up the door? I mean, grammar, young Megan, grammar. And looks at me with a curious expression on her face. Is your master, Judge Turpin, home? I have some important matters to discuss with him, I ask the young servant. Bloody hell, I really don't want to kill an innocent woman to cover up my crimes. I'm afraid that he isn't here, sir, she responds shyly. Part of me is angry that he's gone, and the other part of me is relieved that I won't have to kill this woman. Can you tell me where he is or where he's going? These matters can't wait. I ask someone urgently. She is quiet for a moment, thinking about where the judge has said he was going. I do believe that he said he had an important matter to deal with in Fleet Street. She answers. My stomach drops when I hear this. Where in Fleet Street? I manage to ask calm. I believe he said that he was heading to the pie shop on that street, the one run by Mrs. Lovett. Okay, this is stupid on Judge Turpin's part, too. If he's planning on doing something horrific to Mrs. Lovett, why would he be announcing it to everyone? Okay, everyone, I'm going to Fleet Street to deal with some matters with Mrs. Lovett. So fucking predictable. I'm completely frozen by this news. Eleanor. Thank you, good miss, I mumbled, dropping £5 in her hands before... Oh, okay, currency. Before turning and practically running back to Fleet Street. I know what his intentions are I know that his intentions are not good at all for him to be heading there. Hopefully, if he had just left, I can catch up with him before he can do any harm. Wouldn't you have noticed him if you were walking by? I curse angrily to myself when I have to catch my breath. I'm almost there, I know it. After a minute, I turn onto Fleet Street, running to the end of it where Eleanor's pie shop is. When I see the shop in my sight, I see that the door is wide open. When I get into the door frame, the sight I see makes my blood boil with pure rage. Dun dun dun. It's yet another cliffhanger. Find out tomorrow what happens. Gee, I wonder if Mrs. Lovett got raped by the judge. Let's find out. I'm just going to read ahead. Oh, well, you know, she got raped by the judge. I can't freak out because my sister's asleep. Whatever. Okay. Chapter 19 is called Agony. Alright folks, as a treat, I decided to update earlier than scheduled. This chapter is where the M rating comes in. Reader discretion is advised. I highly advise you guys, if you're not into rape scenes or graphic sex scenes, you might want to stop watching this video. Let's get going. Mrs. Lovett. That man really needs to be patient. Harry is wolfing down his food so he can kill that bleating old judge. It's not like the judge is going anywhere. As quick as lightning, Mr. Todd shoots up, grabs his coat, and bolts out the door. I'll be back within the hour, he yells as the door shuts. I shake my head, and me and Toby exchange glances with each other. What's his rush, Mum? Toby asks me after he finishes eating. He just has something to take care of. That's all. Now run along and get us some toffees while I clean up. I say to my lad as I hand him a shiny new penny. What about you? Will you be all right by yourself? He asks out of concern. God bless my boy. I'll be fine, dear. Now run along. I watch him dash out the door out of excitement about getting toffees. He likes them a lot, and so do I. I hum softly as I start to clean up. It's at that moment that I hear the shop door open. Toby, I told you I trail off when I see the judge in the doorway, leaving the door wide open as he enters. Great, perhaps Mr. Doff can kill him here after all. Mr. Turpin, the shop is closed, I say to him, feeling uneasy with his eyes boring into mine. I'll make you pay dearly for your sins. He snarls. Before I can do anything, the fat bard lunges at me and tackles me to the ground. I struggle beneath him, getting him in the groin with my knee. He keels back, giving me the chance to get up. I go to grab my rolling pin, and he grabs me from behind and flings me to the ground. Insufferable wench, he yells, staring at me with not only anger, but to my horror, lust. Predictable. In his right hand, he's holding the cane that the beetle walks around with. With a violent jab, he forces the cane to grow in length. If that's not an innuendo, I don't know what is. Before I can move, he hits me hard with it over and over again. I need to get myself out of the situation. I manage to roll away, but he pounces on top of me. He beats me over and over. My struggling weakens considerably. When he finally stops, he stares down at me with greedy eyes. I haven't been inside of a decent woman in ages, my dear. Consider yourself honored. He drawls as he starts to raise my skirts. With all my strength, I go to kick him, but miss by mere inches. He laughs at my defeat, striking me harshly with his cane. He continues to hit me until I can barely move. Again, he laughs at me as he forces my skirts up. I feel tears foaming in my eyes as I feel him tearing my undergarments to shreds. Mockingly, he strokes the sensitive spot between my legs. Go to hell, I growl angrily. He sneers at me as he starts to unbuckle his belt. My eyes widen in horror when I see the monstrosity that he's planning on forcing into me. I glare angrily at him as he laughs at me. I silently cry in anger and in fear as I feel the bugger moving my legs apart. Without warning, he rams himself into me with all his might, causing me to scream out in agony. Angrily, he takes the remains of my undergarments and shoves them into my mouth to stop my screaming. We'll have none of that, Hall. He growls with a sickening grin. I close my eyes tightly when he bangs me again, with more force than the last time. I hear him laughing as he continues to painfully fuck me over and over again. Here I am completely helpless. Even if Toby was here, the judge surely would have overpowered the poor boy. I feel myself being roughly turned over by the judge. I bite my tongue as he starts to continue to assault on my ass now. I taste the blood in my mouth and the tears from my eyes as the agonizing pain radiates throughout my body. When I do open my eyes, I can see the shop door wide open. Why hasn't none of my neighbors come? I'm sure that someone must have heard my screams. My vision begins to blur as the pain becomes more intense. Why hasn't he climaxed yet? Again, the judge flips me off, roughly grabbing my cheek and smiling sweetly at me. You do know how to make a man feel good, he sneers as he plunges himself into my opening again. I close my eyes, but he angrily slaps me in the face to make me look at him. I glare at him through my pain, wishing that I could castrate him on the spot. I see the judge suddenly look up above me with a look of shock on his face. I see a hand angrily grabbing him and pulling him out of me. At that moment, my vision becomes very blurry as the pain radiates throughout. That was the judge screaming. I wish I could see what was happening. I see the judge lying down next to me, covered in blood but still alive. He looks horrified when his attacker roughly brings him to his feet. My heart skips a beat when I see the razor in the hand of my savior. It's Mr. Todd. He must have hurried back when he found out that the judge wasn't home. As my vision darkens, I see blood squirting everywhere. Then I hear a loud thud next to me. I turn to look, but the pain I'm in throbs through me and prevents me from moving. I see a very bloody Mr. Todd kneeling down beside me, cradling me in his arms. I smile very weakly at him. You got him, Mr. Todd, I mutter weakly before all my vision goes black. I apologize with a Z. If I scarred you all for life, I don't really do rape scenes much, so forgive me if that sucked. It didn't suck. I think you did a good job with that one, I will admit. But yes, Mrs. Lovett didn't die, she just... Oh my god. It's called Father and Son. Let's get started notes. Thank you all for the fantastic review. Again, I'm sorry if I scarred you all for life for that last chapter. At least you guys didn't have to write that. Jeez, I was cringing just by reading it. Okay. You got him, Mr. Todd, she whispers before she blacked out and... Okay, stop switching between past and present tense. It's ignoring me. Well... Silly cat. She whispers before she blacks out in my arms. I feel panic rising within me when she loses consciousness. Gently I shake her, but she stays unconscious. Just then, Toby comes dashing into the shop, his eyes wide with horror when he sees what's left of the judge. Quickly, I pull Eleanor's skirts down to prevent Toby from seeing what the judge had brutally done to her. Toby looks over at me as I carefully lift Eleanor into my arms. Get the door to her bedroom, I order. Without hesitation, Toby obeys and quickly leaves the pie shop. I carefully make my way up to the second floor apartment. When I get up there, I see Toby waiting for me. He helps me lay her down on the bed before we go back down to the pie shop and deal with the judge. After closing all the curtains and locking both entrances, Toby and I haul the judge down to the bakehouse. I see Toby glancing at the body of the bloke that I had killed earlier today, but the lad doesn't seem fazed by what he sees. Are we going to burn him, sir? Toby asks, his voice oddly calm. No. I'm personally going to butcher him and make him into a meat pie, I growl as I ceremoniously drop my half of the judge onto the floor. Toby says nothing as he does the same. In silence, the boy and I head out of the bakehouse. Toby, would you kindly clean up the shop? I ask him softly. Gladly, he answers. I smile slightly before I reach into the cabinet and grab 2 large bowls. I then go into the parlor and grab the bottle of gin, which is full for once. I then head up to the apartment and go to the bathroom. I fill one bowl up with warm water and the other with cold water. After grabbing 2 face cloths, I go back into Eleanor's room, setting the items where I gathered. Oh, sorry, that was my own fault. Setting the items I gathered down onto the bed, I go over to the bedroom door and close it and lock it. I do not want the boy to walk in on what I'm about to do. Slowly, I walk back over to the bed. She's still unconscious. I gently place 2 of my fingers above the pulse in her neck. It's there, but it's faint. Blasted judge. I look her over as the anger in me builds up. Not only did he brutally molest her, he also beat her severely. She had cuts and bruises all over her arms and legs. The worst damage, other than her privates, seemed to be her legs. Knowing Eleanor, I bet she tried to fight back, and this is how the mongrel rewarded her. Carefully, I gathered her skirts up. The anger in me is ready to explode by the sight I see. I'll have my fun with that mongrel later. So, what exactly is he going to do? Is he going to, butt rape the dead judge? I can't do that. Normally, if someone says, I'm going to have fun with you later, that means they're going to do something never mind. It's been a long night. After dipping the first cloth in the warm water, I pour a bit of gin on the tip. This is where I'm thankful that she's out. After I'm done with the cleaning, I take the other cloth and submerge it into the cold water. I then gently lay it over her womanhood in hopes that the coolness will help relieve the pain when she finally comes through. After carefully lowering her skirts, I get up and go to the door. When I open it, to no surprise, Toby is sitting in the hallway waiting patiently. Is she still at it, Mr. Todd? He asks me quietly. Gravely, I nod. The boy looks defeated as he gets up. Placing my hand on his shoulder, I lead him into the bedroom, and we each take a seat in the 2 armchairs in the room, both on opposite sides of the bed that lies in the middle. Neither of us speak. We just wait. I don't know what the boy is thinking, but I can guess that it's about his mom. Why did he hurt her, Mr. Todd? Toby asks after a while, his voice very small and weak. It's what he does, Toby. He hurts people, takes away their dignity and throws it in their faces. He did it to me, now he has done it to your mom. I mutter as I watch Eleanor's shaky breathing. You were once Benjamin Barker, weren't you? The boy asks, morally states. I look over at him and then look back at his mom. I was that man once, but he died many years ago. Judge Turpin was sure of that, I answered gravely. That other bloke down in the bakehouse, was he like the judge? Was he like Judge Turpin? Yes, he was. I kill people up in my shop that are like the honorable judge. Your mom cooks them into meat pies, I mutter quietly. All Toby does is smile very slightly. Well, these are desperate times, I suppose, he mutters darkly. Yes, he's definitely Eleanor's son. Indeed they are, I respond quietly. Mr. Todd, when you go to butcher the judge, may I help you? The boy asks. I look at him, a bit shocked by his requests. It'll be a lot of work, Toby, I say to laugh. I want to do it, Mr. Todd. I want to do it for Mom. He says firmly. He's stubborn like his mother. All right, we'll do it later after your mom wakes up. I say quietly. I notice him looking at me, so I meet his gaze. It seems like he's seeing me in a different light, seeing that his eyes aren't critical like they always are. You really do care for her, don't you? He asks me softly. Yes, I answer quietly. Toby smiles slightly and looks back to Eleanor. I never should have let her talk me into getting us some toffees. I should have stayed with her, he says sadly, the guilt radiating off of him as much as it radiates off of me. I never should have left, I said quietly. I never should have been so bloody impatient. You had no way of knowing, boys, said a very weak voice from the bed. Both Toby and I look at Eleanor, who's lying on the bed. Despite her banged-up appearance, she weakly smiles at us, bringing great relief from both me and Toby. Sorry if this wasn't great. Again, I don't really like writing as Sweeney at times. Please review and don't yell at me for downing myself. I am entitled, at least I use the right version of entitled, to be critical of my own work. Okay then. Well, that's the end of this part. 34 minutes long. Yeah, so I'll be filming the next part after this. And I'll probably finish filming after that because I am getting a bit tired. So I do have a little kitty on my lap. This is the webcam, so I can't show you. I'm sure you guys saw him when he decided to jump up on my lap again because he's a little shithead. Yeah. He was on my lap right before I started filming this, but when I went to grab the picture of my dog there, the picture fell and I went to try to get it and this guy got spooked. So, and I was holding him in my arms and he hissed at me because when he gets spooked he's like, let me go. And I'm like, okay, fine. So he wandered off and then he came back in, which is typical of Caddy because he's a little shithead. And I think he knows I'm talking about him. Yeah. Okay then, stay tuned for the next part, guys.